I was pregnant when he told me he still loved his ex. I don't think I'll ever forget the moment everything changed. I was pregnant, just weeks away from bringing our child into the world, and I overheard something I never expected. We were lying in bed, me scrolling through my phone, and he was talking on the phone in the other room. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard his voice, and then I heard him say it. I still love her. His ex, the one he always claimed was just a past thing. My heart sank right there, as if it was suddenly ripped from my chest. I felt paralyzed, like my whole world had shattered. It wasn't just a betrayal of me, it was a betrayal of our future, of the life we were supposed to build together. I thought everything was fine. I thought I knew where I stood. But in that moment, everything was thrown into question. I didn't know who he was anymore. I didn't know what to feel. But I knew one thing. I was at a crossroads, and I couldn't turn back. The second those words hit my ears, my body froze. Shock washed over me like a tidal wave. I felt the heat rise in my chest and my heart racing. I couldn't breathe. Anger, betrayal, confusion, all at once. I could barely think straight. My mind was spinning in circles, trying to make sense of what I'd just heard. Did he mean it? Was this a joke? But no, his voice sounded too real, too serious. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't anything that could be taken back. And then I felt something deeper: sadness. Heart-shattering sadness. How could this happen? How could I be sitting here pregnant, carrying his child, and hearing him say this? I trusted him. I believed in him. I thought we were solid. But now, I was questioning everything. I wanted to scream, to confront him right there. But I couldn't. I couldn't even move. I just sat there, waiting for him to come back, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again. I didn't confront him right away. I couldn't. I needed time to process it. But time wasn't on my side. Every minute felt like an hour, each second dragging me deeper into my own thoughts. I kept replaying his words in my head. I still love her. Those words haunted me. What did that mean for us? For our baby? Everything I thought I knew about our relationship, about us, was starting to crumble. How could he say that to me? Especially now. We were supposed to be building a life together. We were supposed to be happy. And yet, here I was, questioning everything. Was he just pretending? Was I the fool believing in this future that wasn't even real? I couldn't stop thinking about the life I had imagined, the life I thought we were going to have. Now, it felt like it was slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't stop it. I didn't know what to do. I felt lost, unsure of how to move forward. The conflict inside me was suffocating. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what to feel. On one hand, there was the man I thought I loved, the man I trusted with my whole heart, the father of my child. But on the other hand, there was the man who just told me that he still loved his ex. How was I supposed to reconcile that? How was I supposed to move forward when everything I thought was real now felt like a lie? And then there was the baby, my child. I couldn't just walk away. Not like this. I couldn't throw away everything we had worked for. But I also couldn't ignore the deep, gaping wound inside me. I didn't know if I could keep trusting him, and I wasn't sure if I should. Was I strong enough to forgive him? Was he even worth fighting for? All I knew was that I was scared. Scared of losing him. Scared of being a single mother. Scared of facing the truth. But more than anything, I was scared that I wasn't enough to keep him. I thought I knew him. I thought I knew every little detail about him. Every flaw. Every strength. I thought we were solid, built on love and trust. We had our issues, sure, but who doesn't? We had our arguments, our disagreements, but they always brought us closer. We were a team. I thought we had something special, something that couldn't be broken. And then, in one stupid moment, everything came crashing down. I found out that the man I loved, the man I was having a child with, still had feelings for someone else. His ex, the person he told me was a non-issue, a past he had left behind. How could I not see it? How could I have been so blind? In that moment, I realized that our relationship wasn't what I thought it was. It wasn't built on the same foundation I had. And that's when everything started falling apart. I had to face the truth, no matter how much it hurt. This wasn't the life I wanted. This wasn't the future I'd imagined. And suddenly, everything felt like a lie. The worst part was how he tried to justify it. It's not like that, he said. But it didn't matter. His words didn't mean anything anymore. His ex was still in his heart. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop imagining how it felt for him to look at her the way he looked at me. How did I fit into all of this? Was I just a placeholder until she came back? Did he want her more than me? Did he even want us anymore? I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but something stopped me. Part of me wanted to believe him, to believe that it wasn't as bad as it sounded. But another part of me couldn't ignore the facts. His confession hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and there was the baby, this tiny little life inside me. I couldn't just walk away, but I also couldn't ignore the way his confession made me feel. I was suffocating in my own confusion, and the worst part was that I didn't know where to go from here. I didn't know if I could go back to how we were, even if I wanted to. We were friends first, always laughing together, supporting each other through everything life threw at us. It wasn't always easy, but we made it work. And then, one day, things changed. We started looking at each other differently. It wasn't just friendship anymore, it was love. And it was intense. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. We talked about the future, about getting married, having kids. We were on the same page. We had this shared vision of life that we both believed in. I thought we were ready for it. I thought we had it all. That's why when I found out I was pregnant, it didn't feel like a huge shock. It was the next step. I thought it would bring us closer, make our bond even stronger. But I never imagined it would break us apart like this. We shared everything. Our fears, our hopes, our dreams. We built something together, or so I thought. I trusted him more than I trusted anyone else. I thought he was my person, my rock. He made me feel safe, loved, wanted. We talked about the baby with so much excitement, so much hope. He told me he couldn't wait to be a dad, to raise this child with me. I believed every word. We had planned so many plans, but none of it felt real now. Not with what I knew. Now, I was left questioning everything. Did he really love me the way he said he did? Or was I just someone to pass the time with until his real feelings came back? The love we had felt real to me. It was everything. But now, I felt like a fool for believing it. Looking back, there were signs. I just didn't see them. He'd been distant, more distant than usual. He'd get home late, often too tired to talk. And when we did talk, it wasn't the same. We stopped having those long late-night conversations, the ones that made us feel close. There were moments when he'd zone out when I was talking about the future, moments where his mind seemed somewhere else. I kept telling myself it was just the stress of the pregnancy, the pressure of becoming parents. I told myself it was normal, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to believe it. But now, I had to. We never said the things that needed to be said. There were moments of silence, moments where I felt something was off but never spoke up. Maybe I didn't want to hear the truth. Maybe I didn't want to rock the boat. Maybe I was afraid. But now, I wish I had said something. I wish I had asked him, "Are we okay?" I should have confronted him when I first started feeling this distance. I should have trusted my gut. But I stayed quiet, letting the tension build. I thought love was enough to keep us together. I thought we'd be fine, no matter what. But now, it felt like all the unspoken words, all the things we never said, were coming back to haunt me. It wasn't one big thing that tore us apart. It wasn't a single event. It was the slow burn. The little things. The things that at first seemed insignificant but started to pile up until I couldn't ignore them anymore. He wasn't the same anymore. I wasn't sure when it started, but I started noticing the distance between us growing wider. He'd come home late more often, and when he did, he was emotionally checked out. I tried to reach out, tried to talk, but it felt like he wasn't there. And when he was, it felt like he was somewhere else, his mind drifting to places I wasn't a part of. The worst part? He didn't even seem to care that I noticed. I kept thinking it was just stress. The baby was coming. The pressure of becoming a father was probably getting to him. But deep down, I knew. Something inside me just knew that I wasn't the only thing on his mind anymore. The text he was getting, his phone always face down when he put it down, his sudden defensiveness when I asked him about his ex. It was all adding up, and it wasn't pretty. But I couldn't face it. I couldn't admit it. I didn't want to, because once I did, everything would change. But I couldn't ignore the way I felt, the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. The growing doubt. It was like watching a rope slowly unravel, strand by strand. First, it was tiny things. Then, it became too big to ignore, and just like that, I realized I didn't trust him anymore. How could I? He wasn't the man I thought I knew, the man who promised me forever. He was slipping away right in front of me, and I didn't know how to stop it. I kept telling myself I was just being paranoid. I kept telling myself that it was just the stress. But my gut kept screaming at me. Something was wrong. And then, one day, it hit me. I don't trust him anymore. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just a small doubt anymore. It was a full-on gut punch. He wasn't being honest with me. I could feel it in my bones. I didn't even have to catch him in a lie. I just knew. I had always trusted him. I thought our relationship was built on honesty and love. But now, all that felt like a lie. And it hurt. It hurt more than I could even describe, realizing that the one person who was supposed to be my rock, my partner, had become someone I couldn't rely on. I started noticing the small lies. At first, they seemed harmless, just little white lies that didn't mean anything. But the more I paid attention, the more I realized how often he lied to me. About where he was, about what he was doing, about his ex. Every time I asked about her, it was always the same story. She's just a friend. There's nothing going on. But I could see it in his eyes. I could see the hesitation, the way his voice would falter just a little. And then I'd see him scrolling through his phone, smiling at messages I wasn't allowed to see. I wasn't stupid. I knew exactly what was going on. He wasn't being honest with me, and I couldn't pretend anymore that everything was fine. It wasn't. And the lies were getting bigger. It wasn't just about his ex anymore. It was about everything. I couldn't trust a word he said. And that's when I started to question everything. All those promises, all the things he said about us, about the future. Were they all lies? It wasn't just the lies anymore. It was the gaslighting. The way he would make me feel crazy for questioning him. When I confronted him, he'd always turn it around on me. You're being paranoid. You're overreacting. You don't trust me. And I'd feel guilty. I'd feel like I was the one in the wrong. But then, I'd step back and look at the bigger picture. I wasn't the one with something to hide. He was. And every time he tried to twist things, it felt like I was losing myself. I was losing the person I used to be, the person who trusted their instincts, who felt secure in their relationship. I started to doubt everything. Was I just imagining it all? Was I being unreasonable? Or was he really hiding something from me? It felt like a constant battle in my head. The more I questioned him, the more he pushed back, until I didn't know what to believe anymore. We were living in the same house, but I felt like we were oceans apart. The distance between us was growing every day. He'd come home, but it felt like he wasn't really there. His mind was elsewhere, and when I tried to talk, he'd give me half-hearted answers. Sometimes he wouldn't answer at all. The silence between us was deafening. And the worst part was that he didn't seem to care. He didn't seem to notice that I was slipping away, that I was fading right in front of him. It was like he didn't even care anymore. He was living in his own world, and I was just there. I kept thinking about what had happened, about everything we had lost, the love we had, the connection. But it wasn't just the physical distance. It was the emotional distance. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't the man I fell in love with anymore. He wasn't even the man I thought I was building a future with. And that realization hurt more than anything. The person I trusted the most had become a stranger, and I didn't know how to fix it. I couldn't take it anymore. The lies, the distance, the feeling that I was living in some kind of emotional fog. I needed answers. I needed the truth. So, I confronted him. I asked him, point blank, about his ex. And for a moment, there was silence. I saw him hesitate, and then finally he said it. I still love her. My world stopped. He didn't even try to sugarcoat it. No apology, no remorse, just the cold truth. It felt like someone had ripped my heart out and left it there for me to see. In that moment, everything I thought I knew about us, about him, fell apart. I was crushed, but at the same time, I felt this strange sense of relief. I finally knew what was really going on. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. He had made his choice, and it wasn't me. I wasn't angry at first. I was just numb. But the numbness didn't last. The anger came rushing in like a flood. I was furious. Furious at him. Furious at myself for not seeing it sooner. Furious at everything. How could he do this to me? How could he do this to us? The baby. What about the life we were supposed to build? What about everything he promised me? It was all lies. All of it. He had never really loved me the way he said he did. And it hit me harder than anything. It was like everything I thought was real had been a cruel joke. I was heartbroken. I was devastated. But at the same time, I was done. Done with the lies. Done with the manipulation. Done with being the person who always believed in him. Because the truth was, I had been a fool. And I didn't know how I was going to get through it. But I knew one thing. I couldn't stay. I couldn't hear those words. I couldn't know what he had told me. The truth was out. And I could never go back. I could never trust him the same way again. Every promise he made, every word he said, felt like a lie. How could I trust someone who told me he still loved his ex while I was carrying his child? It wasn't just a betrayal of me. It was a betrayal of everything we had built. And it destroyed me. The man I thought I knew, the man I had been building my life with, wasn't the person I thought he was. And I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep trusting. Because trust, once broken, is never truly fixed. It's like trying to glue together a shattered piece of glass. You can do your best, but it'll never be the same. I was lost. My emotions were all over the place: anger, sadness, guilt, confusion. It felt like my world had just crumbled. I wanted to scream, to shout at him, to make him feel the hurt he caused me. But I didn't. I just stood there numb, trying to make sense of everything. Why did he do this? Why now? How could he look me in the eye and say that? How could he not see the damage he was doing? I felt betrayed on every level. And it wasn't just the relationship. It was everything we had planned. The future, the family. It was all slipping away. And I didn't know how to stop it. I didn't know how to make sense of it. I felt broken, lost, and alone. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the full weight of what it meant to be betrayed by someone you loved. I couldn't escape the aftermath of it all. It wasn't just about the conversation anymore. It was about everything that followed. The confusion, the heartache, the endless thoughts that kept running through my head. What now? How do you rebuild something that's been destroyed from the inside out? How do you look at someone the same way when you know they've been lying to you all along? And then there was the baby. How could I bring a child into this mess? Into a home where trust had been shattered, where love had been replaced by doubt? I couldn't even bring myself to tell anyone. Not yet. I wasn't ready to admit it to my friends or family. I wasn't ready to accept that this was my reality now. I felt sick to my stomach every time I looked at him. The way he acted like everything was fine. The way he didn't seem to get it. That I was broken. Shattered into pieces. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the indifference. He didn't seem to care the way I did. It was as if, deep down, he had already moved on. And I was left holding onto a dream that was no longer real. I wanted to yell at him. Ask him how he could do this, how he could break everything we built, but the words never came. I was too numb, too hurt, and the worst part, I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know if I should try to salvage this relationship, to somehow forgive him and move forward, or if I should just walk away, leave him behind, and raise this child on my own. I wasn't ready for either option, but I had to choose. I had no choice anymore. I spent days, maybe weeks, just sitting with the feeling of it all, the emptiness, the anger, the grief. The worst part was that I felt like I was losing myself in it. I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't even breathe without feeling the weight of everything he had done. The sadness became physical. I could feel it in my bones. The betrayal felt like it was poisoning everything I had ever known. And I hated him for it. I hated him for making me doubt everything: myself, our relationship, my future. I wanted to just forget it all. I wanted to escape, but I couldn't. Because no matter how hard I tried, I was still here, still carrying the child we had made together. And that in itself was a bitter pill to swallow. It wasn't just the emotional fallout. There were real-world consequences now. I had to think about the practical side of things, about the baby, about the life we had planned. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about a tiny human growing inside me who deserved love, stability, and a life free of confusion. And I couldn't give that to them if I stayed in this toxic relationship. But then, how could I leave? The thought of doing it alone terrified me. The thought of raising this baby without him, without the person I thought was supposed to be my partner, scared me in ways I couldn't put into words. But what other choice did I have? Could I really stay with someone who didn't respect me enough to be honest? Who didn't respect our family enough to fight for it? I had to make a decision, and it was one of the hardest things I had ever faced. For a while, I tried to make it work. I tried to pretend everything was okay. I thought maybe, if I gave him another chance, he'd somehow prove that he could change, that he could become the man I needed him to be. But the truth was, I couldn't unsee what I had seen. The love had been replaced by uncertainty. The trust had been replaced by doubt. And no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't fake it anymore. So, I started to pull away. Little by little, I started focusing on what I could control: myself, my health, my baby. I couldn't fix us, but I could focus on what mattered most. Slowly, I started to realize that I didn't need him to move forward. I could do this on my own. And that realization, though terrifying, gave me strength. It wasn't the path I wanted, but it was the one I had to take. Letting go wasn't easy. It didn't happen overnight. But there came a point where I realized that holding on to the past Holding onto a relationship that had been broken was just holding me back. I had to let go of the dream of what I thought we would be. I had to let go of the life I had imagined, the future I thought we were building. And that hurt. It hurt more than anything I had ever experienced. But I had to do it. For my sake. For my baby's sake. I couldn't keep holding on to something that was never truly mine to begin with. And as much as it broke me to admit it, I had to accept that he wasn't the person I thought he was. And I couldn't change that. I had to move forward. And I did. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. And I knew, deep down, that I was strong enough to handle whatever came next. This whole experience forced me to confront parts of myself I never wanted to see. I had to admit that I had been blinded by love, by my need to make things work. I had put my trust in someone who didn't deserve it. And in doing so, I lost pieces of myself. But through it all, I also discovered something about me that I didn't know existed. My own strength. I realized that even though I had been broken by his betrayal, I was capable of healing. It wasn't easy. The emotional scars ran deep, but every day, I got stronger. I learned that it was okay to trust myself, to listen to my instincts, and to set boundaries. I learned that my worth wasn't tied to anyone else's love or approval. I had to learn to love myself first, to put myself and my baby above all else. And that was a hard lesson to learn, but it was the one that carried me through the darkness. I can't change what happened. I can't change the betrayal, but I can change how I respond to it. And I choose to move forward, to find my peace, to become the mother I was meant to be. When I look back on everything, I realize that betrayal doesn't just break the person being betrayed, it shatters the person who does the betraying too. We all make choices. We all have the power to hurt or heal, to break or build. In the end, the most important thing I learned from all of this is that trust is the foundation of everything: relationships, families, and self-worth. Once trust is broken, it's not just the person who has been betrayed who suffers. It's both parties. Because without trust, nothing is real. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to let go of what no longer serves you, no matter how much it hurts. So, if you're reading this and you've experienced betrayal, I want you to know you're not alone. It's painful. It's messy. But it's also a chance for growth, for self-discovery. I've learned the hard way that we can't control other people's actions, but we can control how we respond. And that's where our power lies. If you've been betrayed, or if you've hurt someone, take a moment to reflect on the impact of your actions. Think about trust. Think about love. Think about what really matters. Because in the end, it's not the relationships we hold on to that define us, it's the way we treat ourselves and others along the way. If this story resonated with you, or if you've been through something similar, share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real, raw, and emotional stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Keep moving forward. No matter what, you're stronger than you think.